tell me who you are and whereabouts you come from and why you're here.
Hello, my name is Mike Bremer, and I'm from Chicago. I was for about 5 years a member of the Francis of Assisi Catholic Worker House in Uptown. And we did hospitality for homeless men and women who came to us right off the street. No qualifications, they walked into the house. And if we had a spot, we'd give them a place to stay. I'm here at the Midwest Catholic Worker Gathering. And actually, I no longer live at a Catholic Worker House, but while I did, I was never able to come to one of these because of the demands of the house, and I just wasn't familiar with what a good time people were having here. Of course.
So this is like your first time?
No, I've been here now, but every time I've come, it's been since
I see.
I've left the worker.
Oh, I see. I got it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And I've been here maybe 5 or 6 times.
Yeah, I remember you, of course. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And,
cool. So you're obviously still connected to the Catholic worker in some fashion, I mean, or another. I mean,
I'm connected to the houses in Chicago through friendship, but also my wife and I live in a low-income neighborhood in Chicago, and I joke today that our house, as far as I know, is not a Catholic worker house, but we certainly do live a lot of the same ideals.
Yeah.
Gardens, our house is filled with people and guests at times.
Cool.
We just haven't formally put out a shingle. But I certainly feel...
Once you put that shingle out, it's official, you know?
Yeah, once you put luckily in this movement, there is no officialdom. We joke about officialdom, but there isn't any to be
Well,
had.
you got to be approved by the hierarchy first, right?
Right. Except nobody knows who that is.
Well, you know, maybe in Rome we can find some hierarchy to stamp some piece of paper for you.
I like that you're called the Outpost.
Yeah, somebody called our house the Outpost.
The Outpost?
Yeah.
And why is that?
Half joking, half believing that it's a Catholic worker house.
Okay.
And I said this happened unbeknownst to me. So sometimes you become a Catholic worker house just by it being thrust upon you.
By default, yeah. Cool. Awesome.
Yeah, we live in a neighborhood. It's a low-income neighborhood, and there's typical urban problems, and maybe the Outpost, like all Catholic worker houses, there's signs of hope in despairing communities.
Yeah.
And if that's what was meant by it, I take that with a lot of honor, because it's a difficult time in this world, and there's a lot at stake for this generation and the generations of my children.
Yeah, you have children.
Boys.
Yeah.
And you know, to be with people who keep that hope alive, and in very concrete ways, by giving of themselves, by being compassionate, by being loving, by being generous in spirit, it's a great privilege. There's no greater privilege, and that's why I come to this. And it fills me with a lot of hope and energy.
Charges the battery, doesn't it?
It charges the battery. The stories are wonderful. I like to tell stories, and I like to hear the stories.
All right.
Especially of people here, because they're not the stories you hear in our culture. They're stories of enormous kindness and generosity and courage, especially moral courage against war and against injustice.
Nice. So, I mean, you already touched on Sugar Creek, and I mean, more specifically, what's like your favorite thing about Sugar Creek?
Well, the two favorite things are Saturday morning, where everyone introduces themselves and their houses, because there's a lot of humor, and it just starts on a roll for the weekend. A lot of humor and energy amidst the good stories about what people are doing. And then tonight, where people put on skits, which are sometimes funny, sometimes serious, and always a lot of fun, and revealing about the character of the different places that people come from. And I mean the houses and the way they do work.
Right, right, exactly. So back to your neighborhood in Chicago. Whereabouts, what part of town do you actually more specifically live in, and what kind of problems do you mostly face in that neighborhood?
We live in the Market Park neighborhood in Chicago, which is sort of known as the place where Martin Luther King marched and got knocked in the head by a brick from the crowds of the European Americans who lived there and didn't want him there at the time. It is now an African American and Latino neighborhood, except for a few families. And it has all the urban problems that some of the worst neighborhoods.
Is that southwest?
It's on the south side of Chicago.
Okay.
There's gang violence. There was a young woman who was 17 years old and pregnant, killed about a block from us just 3 weeks ago, and the young infant survived. And that's the sad part of the story. She was killed by an ex-boyfriend for jealousy, I suppose. And the next day, I walked by the corner because they had set up a little vigil for her by a tree, and I wanted to see it and talk to maybe some family members. I didn't know her. And there was a crowd of 500 or 600 people there from a group called Ceasefire that was having a prayer vigil. And in attendance were Catholic priests, Protestant ministers, a Jewish rabbi, and several Muslim clerics. And it was very, very powerful. And the whole community came together in some ways, all these people of good conscience, to comfort that family. And this was turning the corner around my house, and I just was opened up to this reality of people who live in tough situations but are willing to express their solidarity with people who are victims of violence. And we've certainly been present to that.
And that's challenging. I mean, like you said, you know, the morals and the social courage that it requires to, you know, just literally just be there, you know, and witness and presence that. So any closing thoughts, Mike, on all the whole Sugar Creek, Catholic workers, and the rest?
Just to, you know, right now I'm in the middle age group here. We span the spectrum of age groups from children to people in their 80s, maybe 90s, who've been involved in this movement for decades, myself for 20 years. And it's inspiring to see all the young people and coming in and experimenting and creating something new, but always with the Catholic worker tradition of hospitality and solidarity with the poor, and doing it in a wonderful, creative, and fun way.
Nice job, Mike. Thank you so much. Thank you very much.